Hey everybody, I just wanted to make this video regarding NIO and Gavin Newsom, California, and China. And the reason why I want to make this video is because I'm sure there's going to be other YouTubers discussing this, but I don't know if they actually have the experience that I do, or the knowledge that I do, or even the same perspective, right? So they might gloss over this and make a generic video, but I don't know if they're actually going to talk in depth about the importance of this. And I'm going to take my time because I want to show how important I truly believe this is, because this isn't something you should gloss over. This is probably bigger than the Jack Motors being bought out by NIO, one of their factories. This is much bigger than that. This is a very big thing. This is a macroeconomic news right here, okay? So why is this important? First, I'm going to lay the groundwork, and I'm going to take my time throughout this entire video. I want you to understand where I'm coming from and how I view things, because whether or not you agree with me, it'll at least give you a framework to how I look at things, and then you can probably make your own adjustments. And you don't have to agree with this, but I want to share this with you because I've made a few predictions, like the NIO phone is going to be a thing. I got it wrong as to why NIO was making it. I focused more on data collection and expansion and research and development, but I think NIO did it more for service-based reasons. But my other predictions can be right. I made in a video a long time ago, like 2-3 years ago. Another prediction I made was China's going to copy what Honda did, and this is way before Stockmo said it, and then I think Stockmo must have heard it from someone else who might have been repeating what I said. So I do think this is more relevant than ever, right? Where Honda is going to replicate what where Chinese company is going to replicate what Honda did. So this is why it's so important. So we need to understand the economy of California first, and we need to understand California. So let's look at let's use global. Okay, so when we look at there we go. Okay, so I know Hawaii, the state of Hawaii, very well, and California very well. I lived in both these places. What we need to understand about these two places is the demographics first off, okay? The demographics of Hawaii has a lot of Asian people, and California as well. And the reason why this is important is because when China comes to trade with the mainland, it's most strategic through the Belt and Road to trade here, throughout Russia, parts of the East Europeans, down south, through China, right, through the Belt and Road. And then, as they want to trade with the West, their best way to do it is to go through Japan, or well, not Japan, but to go through Hawaii and then to the United States. Hawaii has over 40% Asian population, well, Asian mix, but there's definitely a lot of Chinese people there. And Hawaii and America, United States, has a lot of Asian population too, in California and things like that. And these aren't, yes, there are a lot of, so there's a lot of Asian population. And so you might think that Asian people in America are pro-American beliefs, but they are, and they do uphold these values, but they're more willing to understand other cultures too. Because in history, there has been a lot of negative impacts of like the United States towards Asian Americans, the Japanese incarceration camps, the Asian American Exclusion Act, well, the Chinese Exclusion Act, but you know, it negatively impacted the quality of lives of all Asian Americans. And so it's really important to understand the history, because you know, someone in the middle of America might be against the United States or Chinese companies coming in, even if they use Chinese stuff all the time. But Asians in America may be more willing to adopt these things and start the trend, right? So a lot of trends actually come from China, Japan, and Korea, and then it goes into the United States. So you're gonna see a lot of these companies, automakers, come to California and Hawaii. So if NIO decides to expand to the United States, you need someone like Gavin Newsom to come in and build better relationships between China and the United States. Now, I understand that Gavin Newsom can't actually create, he cannot, stop the sanctions and things like that, but this person could very well be our president in the next 4 to 8 years. So understanding California, where it is on the map, is really important because China is going to be doing trade through the Pacific Ocean, where there's Hawaii and California. There's a lot of Asian Americans here, and they're willing to adopt Chinese goods and services without really hesitating. They're not against China because a lot of people really aren't, but yeah, conservatives and maybe some Americans who value like an American economic system and a hegemony may be against that, right? Like, even if they use things from Temu, Walmart, Target, and all these other goods and services made from China, and we rely on China, they may not like the way that China's trying to cut out the middleman, like Walmart or Target, and wants to have the United States, have China, and have the United States act as a middleman, right? So when you look at a store like Walmart, for example, Walmart acts like a middleman, right? You can get your, I don't know, your deodorants, your razors, your toothbrushes, your soaps, your shirts, pants, anything you buy from Walmart, your smartphones, your technologies, a lot of that's made in China. But so even if you can get all these things from like Temu or Alibaba or AliExpress or directly from China from the manufacturer for like, I don't know, let's just say like $100 for everything in a shopping cart. If you were to get it from China instead, it might cost you like $20 instead. But the middleman in America, Target, Walmart, businesses, small and large, mark these things up by like 700% and then resell it to Americans. We need China because without China, we're never going to reach 2% inflation. So it's really important that we understand the importance of China. You can't just cut ties with China because, again, when you look at like how the CPI is calculated, if you cut ties with China, then our inflation rate's going to rise tremendously. They buy our debt. They, in a sense, fund our military through the purchasing of our debt. They loan us money as a country. They give us goods and services at low, medium, and high ranges of quality in order to offset our inflation by giving us cheap goods. And the amount of markup that this country does by acting like a middleman from Chinese manufactured good to its American citizens also reduces inflation as well to some extent, right? And it also helps our economy, right? It helps our large corporation revenues. It helps our businesses. It helps give us goods and services. So here's another example I'd like to give you. If you go to like Alibaba Express or AliExpress or Temu and you buy most of your goods and services from there rather than from Walmart or Target, like your basic needs, that's going to affect American companies tremendously, even if some American companies buy from the manufacturer for much cheap in China. But so moving forward though, what you need to understand about California is that it's the 4th or 5th largest economy in the entire world. If California was its own entity, it would be the 4th or 5th largest economy in the world. So California, let's look at California also. California. In California, Asian American Pacific Islander residents comprise roughly 15% of Asian American of the population. And then let's see, Asian American population, Hawaii. And then in Hawaii, I believe that it is 45% were Asian American, Alaskan, Native American, or Pacific Islander. So when you look at San Francisco, Asian population, the population of San Francisco's Asian people are 37%. So This is your tech. This is your Shanghai in a sense. Okay, this is like the powerhouse of the technology world in California. So why would Gavin Newsom want to come? Why would Gavin Newsom want Chinese companies to come to America? Well, because this is the fifth largest economy in the world, and Gavin Newsom's trying to do what's best for California residents. When you have companies like when you have companies like Tesla move out of California, this negatively impacts the economy of California. So when Tesla was building up its company, just as one example out of the many, right? You can think of a lot of different companies, but when a tech and automotive company like Tesla was building up its company, it relied on tax breaks and tax credits from California state. It also relied on Chinese state money, right, for its like tax credits and incentives and whatnot. So when you have these kind of companies rely on California, California relies on Tesla for its jobs, for its tax revenues, and the more money it brings into the state. But when you have these companies like Tesla leave, and you have a lot of companies leave, it's not good for the economy of California. So companies leaving California. So let's just take a look, because I'm learning. I'm kind of going over this with you so I can just better. Because I'm not actually. I don't keep up with this often, but I kind of have a general idea. So these are all the companies that have been leaving California for places with less tax, with less tax rates, like Vorwerk, Hero Digital. But they're all going to they're going to places like Texas, Arizona, Nevada, where the taxes just aren't as high. But some of these are really big names, some of these are not. American Airlines, okay, well, Chevron. So some of these names are really big, some of these are not. But when you keep having these companies leaving, and you have a tech exodus, right, from all these Silicon Valley's companies, if they're looking for lower real estate, better tax laws, and fewer restrictions, and they're going to places like Texas, Nevada, or Arizona and things like that, this negatively impacts California's economy tremendously. It takes away from the jobs, it takes away money, it takes away future revenue. And I understand why businesses would do that, but what do you expect Gavin Newsom, who's responsible for California's well-being, to do? Just sit there and be like, well, this is what they're doing? No, he has to go require capital, jobs, and businesses for his state. And so when you do that, when you take all these businesses away from San Francisco, San Diego, and all along the West Coast, if you take these tech jobs and they've go away to different parts of the country where the business tax breaks are better and things like, and the incentives are better, I'm very sorry, you need to bring in Chinese companies. And so has BYD left? No, but BYD is a Chinese company that's already been in California. So BYD California. So BYD has already had a plant in LA. It builds things like buses, the infrastructure, and supplies other things. So there's already an electric bus factory in LA. So if you lived in California and you use a mass transit, odds are you've been in Chinese vehicles. So why is this good for China and California? California needs jobs, okay? Without jobs, the economy is going to fail in California. So when you bring companies over like NIO, BYD, Xiaopeng, and more, it provides job, it provides skilled labor, it provides infrastructure, it provides the technology spillover, and it strengthens the relationships of the United States and China. So I guess in a sense, when you look at California, they can act as a main distributor for China. So let's see. So yeah, you can look at China, right? They can export their goods and services from a low end to a high end. Your vehicle, from like basic essentials like coffee makers, fridges, fans, computers, and software, along with now going to be vehicles. Avoid tariffs, sending it through the United States, and they can build their factories in the United States, which will provide California jobs, skilled labor, and technology. So Gavin Newsom isn't doing this because he loves China. He's doing it because he understands this is a globalized economy and he's looking out for the best interest of America and Californians. So California needs jobs. So if you bring Chinese factories and companies over, you get jobs. California needs more trade of China. Well, if you bring Chinese companies, you get more trade of China. You strengthen the relationship with China. And China can bring over its technology and infrastructure and skilled labor, so Americans can pick up skilled labor, technology, and infrastructure. So it's just like when Tesla came over to China, it helped speed up the research and development and infrastructure of electric vehicles in China. Well, the same thing can be done with California. You have NIO, BYD, and all these other Chinese electric vehicle companies come to China, open up factories, and bring jobs and skilled laborers and technologies for California. And the thing is that Gavin Newsom has always tried to appeal to the Chinese voters, because Gavin Newsom and a lot of California politicians understands the importance of appealing to Asian Americans in California. So he's not going to be racist. He's not going to be xenophobic. He's going to try to work with China, because that's really important for the Chinese Americans. If you're Chinese American, are you going to be opposed to a Chinese vehicle? No. It's sort of like if you're from the United Kingdom, in a sense. It's like, well, no, that's a very disrespectful thing. If you are Japanese American, are you going to be opposed to buying a Honda or a Toyota? No. You probably like it. So yeah, this is going to bring a lot of jobs for a lot of American people. So when you build these types of things, when you have factories come over, it's a very important. So Gavin Newsom's probably going to be our president in the next 4 to 8 years, I'd assume. This guy's probably going to have a pro-China stance where it's not going to be a winner-take-all. It's going to be a we work together. It can be a win-win situation. And so it's a really good idea for NIO to expand its company in San Jose, because first of all, this is where Gavin Newsom was mayor in San Francisco. So he knows he needs to appeal to a Chinese audience. If you build your Chinese factory, if you build NIO factories in the United States, in San Francisco or in California, then you can avoid tariffs and you can bring incentives like jobs and technology for Americans, and then Americans are more eager and willing to adopt Chinese vehicles. So when you look at Gavin Newsom on climate mission to China gets audience with Xi, this is really important because it shows that Gavin Newsom's having more political experiences in foreign affairs, but he's also building his relationships with China. That's really important. So if you're one of the Americans who believe in a win-win situation, if you want inflation to go down in America, if you want global peace, then you have to work with China, because you cannot have the most powerful economy in the world next to yours and not work together. You have to work together to build a more equitable society. So California has a lot of green goals, just like just like China. So they're probably going to be building their relationships towards green energy and green technology and things like that. And they're more willing to work together. So when you have a president like Gavin Newsom one day, they're going to be more willing to work with China. They're not going to put all these restrictions on China, which in my opinion have been negatively impacting American businesses. Like it's just like with the semiconductor chips. It's like the nanometers. I think it was like a 42 nanometer chip. I think that's where China was like almost a decade ago or so, and now they're down to 7 nanometers, and now they're trying to get 5 nanometers. So it's like, are the chip restrictions really working, or is it forcing China to double down in research and development and then like build up their own supply chains, you know? So it might be counterintuitive. Chinese companies like Nvidia and most of their companies in the United States, S&P 500 and Nasdaq, rely on Chinese economy to be profitable. Without them, these companies won't be profitable, which negatively impacts the indexes, which negatively impacts retirements for Americans, which negatively impacts our stock market. The divorce is not an option. The only way we can solve our climate crisis is to continue our long-standing cooperation with China. And you know, this makes a lot of sense to me. We pretty much need these two to get along, and so it's a good thing. And I don't think the media is talking about it too much, but I will probably put more of this together. But I wanted to talk more, like just show the importance between Gavin Newsom, California, China, and the United States. And this person probably will be the next president, or the next president of the United States. So it's good that he's working with Xi, and this is probably why Xi gave him an audience. And Xi Jinping may not be working with war hawks like I don't want to give names, but Xi and the Chinese government may not be working with war hawks, but he will work with American entrepreneurs, American businessmen, American politicians willing to work and open to working with China to build stronger relationships. And when you look at Joe Biden too, Joe Biden prior to becoming the president he had a lot of formal affairs with Xi Jinping. So is Joe Biden really against China? Has anything America has really done in the past 4 years of Joe Biden's presidency really impacted China negatively? Has it really? Not really. Like, there's a lot of saber rattling, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of useless sanctions that don't really do what I think was intended. So it's like, was Joe Biden really against China? I don't really think so, actually. I don't think so. Maybe I just think it's ineffective, so maybe that's why I view these things that way. But overall, this is very bullish for NIO, because if NIO is going to be expanding its company into the United States, perhaps you really will see a NIO factory in the United States sooner than we think. And if Gavin Newsom becomes our next president of the United States, well, you very might well see a NIO factory in the United States. And either way, it seems like Gavin Newsom's on board with having more expansion of things like BYD into the United States, which is a good start for a lot of Chinese companies. But you also have to remember that the United States relies so much on China that it's like we rely so much on the United States relies so much on China that if you were to cut ties with China, it would be like losing half of your body, and then you would fall down and die. So with that being said, I will probably go more into this later. I've been busy, time constraints. Hope you have a good day.